All right. Hey, welcome back to the Mayday Monday podcast. It is the recording for the March 2025 podcast. Before we get started, let's look at review last month's. Mark, can you put that slides up? This is last month. You guys remember in February, we looked at this, right? Remember the incident was from Lexington, Kentucky back in 97. And one of the things that came out of that incident was Lexington really developed their communications capabilities, right? They added portable radios, and they rolled that out so everybody knew how to use them. They trained with them. So what I want you guys to do, again, last month, right, was to do this old Lego drill. And I know a lot of guys are like, oh, it's a kid's play. Well, yeah, it's kids play, but can you do it, right? Can you do this thing? And can you get your message across? I think it's great. Everybody's got a radio, but can you use it? Do you know how to use it? Can you use it with firefighting gloves on? Can you get your message across with a mask on? So all those things are really what we want to hit on with last month's Mayday Monday. With that in mind, let's go to this month. All right. This month we're gonna talk to some people from Charlotte, North Carolina. One of the things I've been trying to do with Mayday Monday, I know a lot of people say it can be fear mongering, right? Because all we talk about are dead firefighters, and I get it, right? Sometimes it's like we're beating that bell and trying to get a message across with dead firefighters. Well, today we are fortunate enough to have a survivor that was rescued from a building collapse. What kind of started out as a single family dwelling fire on the suburban area, if you will, of Charlotte, North Carolina, turned into a rescue for a fellow firefighter. So imagine, right? I'm sure everybody out there's probably got 2-story single family dwellings in their area that they go to fires in and practice that, think about that, right? But on this night that unthinkable, right? Or unimaginable maybe, I don't know, but it happened. And Richard was trapped in this building, and fortunately for all of us, for him especially, right? He was rescued, survived, and really, did you walk out of this thing?
I did. I walked out.
He walked out of this building collapse.
I did.
He didn't go back to work that night, right? He had the night off. They gave him the night off.
Yeah.
But no, they gave him a few days off, right?
Yeah.
But he's back to work. He's back to work. In fact, getting ready to get promoted at in the fire department. So it's a survivor story and one we want to celebrate. And tonight I have Richard Anderson, and you guys, it's like right before spring training, we have Juan Soto. I know you're all like
Juan Pablo Soto.
Well, we have Juan Pablo Soto, JP Soto, but look, Juan Soto.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
So I was so impressed, right? When he reached out to me, I reached out to a friend in Charlotte and said, "Hey, I need to talk to some guys that were at this fire." I talked to Richard. I'm like, "Hey, you got anybody else?" And Chief Cash said, "Talk to Juan Soto." I'm like, "Juan Soto? What does he know about firefighting?" But here we are with JP Soto, Battalion Chief here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you guys would take a couple minutes, Richard, why don't you start? Just to give us a brief introduction about you. Don't get into the incident yet.
Okay.
Just talk about who you are and when you got on the job, that kind of stuff. And then we'll let the chief chime in.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been on Charlotte now for a little over 8 years. Got hired in January 2017. It's been a interesting ride for these last 8 years. I've got my sixth kid is on the way. She'll be here in March.
Sixth kid?
Yeah. So
you need to get a hobby.
I've got a 15-month-old at the house, and then this little one will be here in March. This is it. This last one. I married into a dairy farm, so we've got a dairy farm here in Cleveland County, North Carolina, is where we live. A little town called Kings Mountain, and I'm in Waco, which is right next door. So yeah, I got hired 8 years ago. I came out of rookie school. I went to Engine 17, which is at the airport, and from there I went down to 24. I did a quick little stint there at 10, and now I'm back at 24. Getting promoted here to engineer. Kind of excited about that, but Station 24 is kind of home for me. I wouldn't mind getting back there later in my career, but that's about it.
So, 6 kids, man. Whew.
Yeah.
So, while he's having kids, Juan Soto is hitting home runs. No, but JP, if you'll introduce yourself to the crowd.
Yeah, so my full name is Juan Pablo Soto. I don't necessarily go by Juan, but a lot of people call me JP at the fire department. But I'm originally from Guatemala, born and raised. I moved here when I was 18 and was blessed and lucky enough to get hired with the fire department at 19 years old. So I've been with the fire department for 22 years. I was a firefighter for 10 years, then got promoted to captain, was captain for 10 years, and I just became, I'm going on my 3rd year now, as starting my 3rd year as a battalion chief for Charlotte.
Wow, so that's cool, man. So you came from Guatemala. What got you into the fire department?
I just got lucky. I moved to the States to join the military. Actually, my dad was in the military, in the Army. My brother did in the Marines, and that was my original plan. And then when I moved here, I was working at a hotel while I was in the process of getting hired in the military. And I met a firefighter that eventually was one of our deputy chiefs. But back then, 22 years ago, he was like, "Hey, you should try for the fire department." I was like, I didn't know anything about the fire department. I didn't know, do they pay you? What do that looks like? Nothing. But he sat down with me. There was another firefighter that worked at the hotel too, and they were very kind to sit with me and just explain to me, "Hey, listen, like this is the pay, this is the schedule. They pay you to go to school, like all the benefits of it." And at the time, I honestly got hired thinking that I was gonna get in the fire department, pay for get them to pay for my education, and then I was wanting to move back to Guatemala. But once I realized the job and I fell in love with it, and here I am. 22 years later, still loving it. Can't think of doing anything else.
That's cool. That's a cool story, right? I know I was always wanted, as a little kid, I wanted to be a firefighter, right? I'm sure Richard, same thing, being out there volunteering and stuff, right? And then you took to it, right? You came here 17 and took to it, and now you're promoted. Yeah, that's a great story. It's good stuff. All right, can you bring the slides back up? All right, let's get into this thing. What we're going to talk about first, I like to talk about, is Charlotte. We'll talk about the city where you guys are from. It kind of gives everybody a frame of reference, right? So now maybe they can compare where they live to the city, to the fire department. We'll talk about the fire department in a minute. But I never heard it was called the Queen City. I always thought it was like Emerald City.
Yep.
Queen City.
Yeah, Queen City, settled in 1755. So pretty old place, 312 square miles. Is it growing? Like, are you annexing land around it?
Slowly we are. I think we will probably continue to annex at some point some of other cities that we have around us. It's just a matter of time, probably.
So 911,000 people. I know. I don't know when the last census was, but the estimate that I read was like 911,000. That's a pretty big town. In fact, with the 312 square miles and 911,000, it works out to about 2,100 people per square mile. And again, right, this gives everybody a reference. Where I work now, it's 65 people per square mile. I used to work in DC. It was like 11,000 people per square mile. So 2,100 is it's pretty dense. It's recorded as obviously the largest city in North Carolina, and it's the 15th largest in the United States. If you guys look, it's right on the border there with South Carolina. Here is the city limits. It's hard to see on that picture, but you can see a dotted line which shows you the jagged edges of the city, and probably where they kept taking this town and then taking this town and taking this town. And the star that's on that map is the area where the fire was that we're going to talk about. So is that area all bedroom community, like neighborhoods like that?
For the most part, yes. That far out, yes. There is an area close to there called Battalion, which we do have a lot of corporate and office buildings and hotels, and it's pretty a combination of corporate and residential. But farther out towards where that star is and when the fire was, it's pretty much pretty residential, pretty suburban.
Bedrooms, like a bedroom
Yeah,
communities.
yeah.
Where I saw on the rundown you have a tanker. So is there like a more rural area?
It is, but it's not. I mean, not in that part. I mean, Richard, you can chip in on any of this, but I don't necessarily see it as rural. I mean, it's all that everything in Charlotte. We're to the point that it's pretty city. I mean, we do have some tankers, but it's rare that we will use them for a residential fire because we are
Okay,
pretty good with hydrants and stuff like that. Most times when we use tankers, it's pretty much for the interstates and stuff like that.
yeah, I got you. I got you. So obviously, it's a. Would you say it's a pretty hipster town?
Areas.
Where the fire was, no.
No.
It depends on the area. So
Yeah.
you have that map on the right where you said this is Plaza Maywood and Noda. That is your hipster
That's your
area.
hipster.
Yeah.
That's it.
What does
The-
NODA stand for?
Hey, that
Is
South
that
End too. That South End's getting there.
I don't know if it's hipster. South End is like a younger hippie, more high class inner city town. Noda stands for North Davidson.
Yep.
They said North Davidson is a street that goes that way, so that's toward the north of Charlotte.
Yeah.
But Noda and Plaza Maywood, it is historically and traditionally your artsy
Yeah.
and more hipster
That's
town.
definitely
NODA?
Yeah.
And then South End is getting there, you say?
South End it's like a cool neighborhood, but it's definitely a more higher end neighborhood. Like
Okay.
Noda, you really have like the bars are just more chill, and you see a guy in pajamas when you see a guy in like a suit, and you see you see all kinds of people in the South End. Everybody's dressed nicer, and everybody's like it's getting more clubs, more bars,
you.
and fancier
I got you.
restaurants. So yeah,
So the picture there is the crown jewel of Charlotte, right? The NASCAR Museum. And what
Correct.
part of town is that in?
and when you see on your map on the right, when you see Valentine on the bottom, that's close to where that star where the fire was on the bigger map.
Where's the NASCAR Museum? Is that in Uptown?
In
or-
downtown, in
Yeah.
Uptown, yeah, in
Yeah.
Uptown.
That's inside the 277 loop.
Is that like the Beltway? Would you call it that?
Kinda. And it's kind of getting to the sense now where the 45 is more like the belt loop. The city of Charlotte itself is very it's very interesting because so I'm about 45 minutes west. So if you see that map where the airport is, you get on 85, you go west. I live that direction.
Okay.
So me coming into the city of Charlotte is totally different than coming in from say Harrisburg or down there towards Pineville and all that. You could be in 25's area and see dairy cows, or you could be in 1 and 4's area and you're in the concrete with high rises.
Yeah.
And then you come out to 40's area where you've got a different diverse, you got different neighborhoods, and then you go down to 32's area, which is Ballantyne, and you've got McMansions that are considered commercial buildings because they're so big. So the city of Charlotte is so diverse and different depending on where you're riding. And I'll say it's about 24 where I'm assigned. The cool part about where I'm at, we have a mix of just about all of that. We go to 32's area, which is where the fire was, which is why we were there.
32 is Ballantyne.
Yeah, that's Ballantyne. Yep.
Mhm.
But we also, in our area, our first due area, man, we've got older apartments that aren't sprinklered that we have to go and walk through and pre-plan with new guys. We have new apartments that are, these real nice high end looking things they've got all the new bells and whistles with the safety stuff in them. We've got commercial structures. We've got a brand new grocery store they built right across the street from the station. So we got all these things. It's so diverse, and that just encompasses the city of Charlotte. I mean, you can be anywhere in Charlotte and see something different.
32. You say that is 32 is Ballantyne, right? 24.
Mhm.
Where would 24 be on that
So
map to the right?
if you look where you see a little Pineville area, just
that's to the left.
Yeah,
right?
kind of above that star where the Pineville area is. So we're on Pineville Matthews Road. So if you turn right out of my fire station, you are 3 miles from downtown Pineville.
Downtown Pineville, and so just so you guys know, I did a Mayday Monday about
Yeah,
Richard.
I saw that with Chief Garin and Cash.
Chief Garin was great, right? And Chief Cash, both of those guys were.
Was that about Sheltra?
Home run,
That was Sheltra's fire, yeah. So that store is a mile from my fire station.
But that's outside the city.
It is. It's in the city limits.
Technically, yeah. It is outside the city, but if you're there, you don't know that you're in Pineville.
You'll never know.
Think you're still in Charlotte.
The only way you know is the street signs are different.
Yeah. Gotcha. And then South Carolina is right across. I mean, it's just outside the city too. Huh?
Yep.
Correct.
I had a niece in Tega Bay or
Tega K.
Tega. That's where she is. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the fire department. So the fire department, as what I got the rundown of, is about 1,300 personnel, 43 stations. But you say they got a couple new ones coming in?
44 and 45, yep.
So this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
44 and 45. So where are they building? Go back to our map. Where would they be in relation to this neighborhood?
45 is kind of closer to the NODA area. But it's if you can find North Tryon Street, it's up there off of North Tryon, and 44 is out here in what's called the River District, which is to the west of the airport. So
close to the airport, yeah.
Yeah, so West Boulevard, it's going to be out there on the other side of the 45 loop, there across from the airport.
And you say they're putting a truck at 45 and an engine?
Yeah, they're putting a ladder at 45 and an engine's going to 44.
All right, so that will increase these numbers then?
Oh yeah, it will.
Yeah, and we're adding a ladder to station 20, my station, so that'd be actually ladder. 17, 18. There'll be 19 trucks.
Yep. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And 2 rescues. Do they divide the city in half?
Pretty much.
Yeah. One pretty much. Yeah.
And tell me again how many ambulances you have?
We don't run ambulances.
We don't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's It's not even. You can't even relate. Most of the people who watch this can't relate to this, right?
Yeah,
because you're like, no ambulances. But no, good.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I've got a funny story about that. Can I tell that real quick?
Absolutely. So, I like funny.
So the other day we were at a location in our area. It was a bigger house. A couple had just moved in. They were older, and their son, who is, I would say special needs. I'm not 100% certain what all the problem is. He lives with them. He's probably in his mid 50s. He had fallen down the stairs and we went to pick him up. And so we get there and the gentleman looks at me, his dad looks at me and he goes, so who's on the ambulance? And we're like, well, the ambulance isn't here yet. He goes, well, I called for an ambulance. Well, and we're like, yeah, they're coming. They're on the way. He goes, the ambulance is not with the fire department? And I said, no, sir, we don't run the ambulance. He goes, well, that's weird. He's like, where I've lived for the last 60 years of my life, the fire truck and the ambulance came at the same time because they were the same people. And I was like, well, sir, that's not how it works here. Sorry.
Yeah, this is some kind of pipe dream or something, right?
Just for him being so confused, though, that it tripped me out. I thought it was funny.
So, no, that's a big fire department. If you have 45 firehouses, that's pretty good. And what kind of shifts do you guys work?
So ours
we work 24 hours. Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah. So ours is we call it a 4-day tour. So the way it works is I'll go in 24 hours. I'm off 24. I go back in 24. I'm off for 48. Go back in 24. I'm off for 24. And then my fourth 24 tour, 24-hour day, I get 4 days off. So it's 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 48 off, 24 on, 24 off, 24 on, 96 off. And it rotates. You
guys like that schedule? I guess you don't know anything else, right?
I don't know anything else.
I don't know anything else. I personally love it because it is.
Yeah, I like it.
I love my schedule.
3 shifts. That's 3 shifts.
Yep.
3 shifts. A, B, and C. Yep. 3 shifts. We have 9 battalions. We just had a battalion this year, so we have 9 battalions. 9 battalion chiefs on duty. 1 division chief per per shift, and then we have 7 division chiefs.
Yep.
I saw what I just saw. Did Jonah go to that 9th Battalion?
Jonah went to the 9th Battalion. Yes,
Yeah, I
he's
saw that. I
on
guess I
a
saw
different
him
shift. Yeah.
talking about that. Yeah, so Battalion 9, not so these 45 firehouses will be divided up into 9 battalions.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, is there divisions, or is there they divide that up too?
So yeah, we have 7 divisions, but a division per shift. So A, B, and C division, and there's a division chief that covers each division. And we have others. The airport has a division: health and safety, logistics, special operations, emergency management. So it's different divisions that cover the city.
So I saw something on there. What's a blaze unit?
That's the airport.
Blaze are the airport,
Yeah.
the ARF equipment.
Yeah.
We call them blazes, but there's the fire trucks at the airport, the big yellow ones.
They're called blaze units.
Yeah, that's their
We
call
call them
signs.
blaze. Yeah.
What on a fire? What do you guys send to a house fire?
Richard, you want me to cover?
Yeah, sure. So right now you're getting 4 engines, a ladder, and a chief. And then when that goes working, you're getting another chief, a rescue, and a second ladder.
How many people would that be on the first alarm?
So that's what? 20?
Yeah, I mean we always have 4 people per truck.
Yeah, so
there's 5 people assigned, but we always have 4 people assigned per truck.
So you're going to get 20 on your initial trucks plus a chief, and then you're going to get 5, 9, 10. So you're going to get
the rescue
36 people.
The rescue has 5.
Yeah, so you're going to get 36 people on a working firebox.
Chief, do you have a driver, or you got to drive yourself?
I have to drive myself. We're working towards getting chief aides. That's a huge push right now. We don't have it right now.
That's an awesome thing. When I was in DC, we had chief aides, and all you had to worry about, right, was the incident.
Trust me, it's especially in this incident.
Yeah.
Once we talk about it, yes. No. Chief aides can't be stressed enough how much we need it.
8500 Ledger Court, right?
Yep.
That was the fire. That was October 15th?
October the 15th.
Yes.
October 15th.
Technically, look, we work October the 14th since we went 24 hours. I always say it's October 14th, but it was at 1:30 in the morning. So on the 15th. So
it was my son's birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah. What, on the 15th?
Yeah, it was my son's birthday. Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Chief, he's got a kid on every day. So, all right, 8500 Ledger Court. You guys know this area well, right?
Yeah.
Single family dwellings, like lots of them.
Yep.
Lots of
this is a very typical house for sure.
Very common. Yep.
Yeah. So no, you got lots of hydrants here too. There's no water supply issues.
We didn't have there was no water supply issues here.
Yep.
The hydrant was two blocks away.
It came in at 1:30.
It did.
1:30 in the morning.
What was the information that you got on the dispatch? Anything special?
I'll say this.
I don't know if we got different information or not. Yeah.
So I'll say this. So and I'll speak to some of the prior fires. So a lot of times when we get dispatched to a house fire in this particular area down in South Charlotte, it's really funny. Like it either comes in as nothing or they're fully involved. Like it's ridiculous how this happens. So not too long before this, we had a house fire that was pretty comparable to that house, maybe a little bit bigger than that one. And it was fully involved. Like the whole back of the house was burning off. And it's crazy because these neighborhoods are so close together.
Somebody should see
right.
it.
You would think, but man, sometimes these houses down here, they get going and by the time we get there, they're blowing out a roof. The back's gone, and it's a defensive fire. This one came in, and there was one bit of information that I've gone back and looked at and read a couple times. I remember hearing it on the back of the truck. We got on the truck, started out of the station. I remember hearing a CMPD officer was either on scene or could see it, and he said it was fully involved. Now, whether he meant the garage was fully involved, it came out to us that the house was fully involved. So for us, we're like, oh, this is just a normal, fully involved, giant 32 house fire, because we've been to some of those. And so that was the funny thing to us on the dispatch was that there was a little bit of mixed information on how much involvement there actually was. And that's coming from us on the back of the truck.
32 was first due here?
They were. Yep. That's their first due area.
And how far is it? Pretty quick response, or is it a long way to?
It was actually a long way for them too.
It was a pretty good
it's
haul.
like that's at the edge of their territory
Yeah,
too.
it's a pretty good haul.
So 32 shows up. What do they have when they get there?
Fully involved garage fire with a car involved in the front.
So that was
but that was the difference, because I remember also listening on the way there.
Yeah.
They said fully involved house. His size up was pretty accurate in the sense that he said fully involved garage, not the house.
Yep. And that was that little bit of information I was talking about, where it was kind of like, okay, well, what exactly do we have? Yeah.
So one thing I missed was to talk about the neighborhood again. We know, right? Looking at the map, it's way down. It's far down in the South Charlotte.
Yep.
And you can see the map on the top right, that it's just streets after street of these houses that are all over this neighborhood. And then the bottom right, again, you can see like lots of houses, the same size house, right? And a good network of roads. So those aren't issues. And like you said, lots of hydrants that you had going in.
It is not an issue, but it is an issue, because I mean, when we get talking more about it, I'll tell you how long it took for companies to get there because of the limited access to that house.
Yep.
Okay.
Good point.
All right. So 32 gets there. They had a fully involved car in the garage.
No.
They had fully involved garage. That the only thing burning fully, there was, even when I got there, the only thing burning was the garage and the bonus room on top of it. There was no fire in the actual house to your right. So if you can make a line that you see where the roof splits.
Yeah.
So the roof is split. If you can make a line there, literally everything to the left was like full involved, burning like hell. Forgive for my language, but burning like hell. Everything to the right was not.
Yeah.
At all. And he gave that size up. The engine, which was the first due, park on the cul-de-sac. So the view you have right now is actually probably a better view from the ladder. The ladder was able to pull in and park on the left side. Where because this was actually my view too. And then the engine pulled to the right, both facing forward in the cul-de-sac. If that makes sense.
Yep. So they have a supply line laid back, so the next gen engine can pick that up.
The engine, the captain did a great job with the size up, like explaining the layout. They drop a dry line on the corner, which is 2 blocks away, and then they ask the next due engine to hook tight or complete the. Actually, no, the engine 32 left. If you can go to the other map where you can see the aerial view, so you see that ledger cord on the bottom right. Yeah, they dropped the line on that corner, and the hydrant was on a block away. So
further back.
The next engine was supposed to catch the hydrant, and then move forward, and then just the plan of the original captain, for what I understand, and this is something that we're still working on the after action report to fully understand all these things. So forgive me if some of these things I may not understand fully, but I think the thought of the original captain was that they would just connect the 5-inch together, and that'll be it. The next due engine, what they actually did is they hooked the hydrant to the truck, then the truck relayed to the next apparatus. That makes sense?
Yes. So instead of like going from the end of the hose to the hydrant and hooking that up, they went from the hydrant to the hose and then hooked that hose up to their fire truck. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I got it.
Correct.
I got it. So, but again, they had a good water supply.
Yeah. Yeah. The water supply wasn't a part of the Mayday, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So the fires in the garage. The initial company led off with line to the garage.
The first, so the first company took 2.5, I believe, and they were fighting fire from the outside of the garage over there.
Yeah.
So 32 got there, gave a good size up, explained what they had. They stretched a line to the outside. He assigned the ladder to do a primary search. Engine 9, which was the second due engine and was doing the water supply, arrived, and they arrived shortly after Engine 9. I had to park in the corner where I told you that engine, pretty much the connection was happening with the other engine.
Yes.
So I parked on that corner, and as I was walking towards the house, so even to backtrack a little bit, when I got in my car, this is not my area. I'm the second due chief to
Oh, okay. Okay.
this area. So Battalion 7 should have been the first battalion there. We having some issues with the computers at the time, and his directions were messed up, so I ended up being the first
Okay.
one there. But when I got in my car, I think my GPS said 16 minutes, and that's at 1:30 in the morning. So you can imagine my drive, right? So I have
Yeah.
this is far for everybody.
Yeah. Is out there.
And I say that because all this plays into part of everything that I think happened, because if we got a call at 1:30 that the house is fully involved, and it took me 16, 17 minutes to get there, that tells you that it's been burning for
Yeah.
a long time.
Especially if
So,
you got there and it was still going.
oh yeah, when I got there, they were just beginning to put water on the fire.
Yep.
And as I was walking towards the house, the incident commander was walking towards I think he was coming to see what the water supply was looking like, and I went face to face, but he only given one assignment. He says he told 24 to keep Rick.
Yep.
Because 24 arrived, and they say, if per our protocol, the fourth engine is Rick.
Yep.
Unless command advise something else. So he said 24 arrived and said, you want us to keep Rick, but they were the third due engine technically because so they were the third due engine. They said, yeah, keep Rick. He assigned the ladder to do a primary search, and then they were stretching a line. So that was all the assignment. So I did a brief face to face. He saw me and he's like, you taken? I said, yeah, I got it. So I walked towards it.
That was the captain on the first due engine?
Yep.
On the engine, yeah. So he gave those 3 assignments pretty much, and then I took command. I notified that, and then I did another 360. When I give that second 360, I updated the size up, and I said this is I guesstimate about 3,000 square foot house, garage and bonus room fully involved. And I said, does it appear that the fire was on the main house? When I walk around, if the only thing I saw that was of concern to me was that I saw smoke coming from the Delta corner roof, and it wasn't pushing hard or anything. It was just smoke coming. So it made me believe that it's getting to the attic, if that makes sense.
Right.
So did my 360, gave an update, and then I went and immediately sat inside. Since I couldn't have my car there close enough, I went and sat inside ladder 32, which the view that you see right now is almost identical to my view. So the video that you have is I think that you play later. It's the engineer put it on the windshield of the ladder that I was sitting on from my command post, pretty much.
Okay.
Cut me off if you have questions or you want me to expand on anything else. But as soon as I got there, the only report that I heard was the ladder 32 said that they had high heat on the second floor. And at that point,
they still didn't have a report about the residents.
He didn't say, no, the people. So the primary was negative once they finished the primary, so there was nobody inside. The only report I got is high heat on the second floor, but I didn't see a lot of smoke pushing from the main house. The front door didn't have any smoke coming out the front door. Moderate smoke coming from the roof, but no sign. They didn't say they had fire on the second floor on that main house. So just to go quickly with the assignments, I changed and I gave 24, which is Richard's truck. I asked them to take a second line to the second floor and attic to go fire, because my guess was because of all the fire on the garage and the bonus room, that my guess was that fire was getting to the attic.
Yeah.
So that was my assignment. Then I assigned 39, which was the fourth due engine, to be my rig. But they had other assignments. We got reports that there was gas-fed fire, so they controlled that gas. Then I heard them pulling a line to the Charlie side, and they were doing other stuff. And then the rescue got there, so then I assigned the rescue to be my rig right before the Mayday happened. So I assigned Rick to my rescue company, and I assigned.
That's a protocol too.
Not necessarily, no. There's no protocol. The only protocol is that the fourth due engine will be Rick unless the incident commander has a different task. My perspective. This is just Chief Soto speaking, not the fire department in general. My philosophy and the way that I think things should be run, if possible, is that I like to assign the companies that are trying to be the best at certain
Yeah,
things. So
yeah,
if I need a second line to the second floor, I will assume and I will hope that the engine company will be better at pulling hose than the rescue. Just like if the rig happens, I will assume that the rescue company will be better at that. Not necessarily they cannot do the job. It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
so at the time that all this was going on, everything was looking good. Everything, there was good conversion in the fire. They were putting the fire out on the outside. Um, Everything was looking like it's going well. Like the fire, there's no concern at this point for me. They need a second line. Finally, Battalion 7 arrived there. I make him a suppression group supervisor, and he wanted another line on the inside, and I assigned 39, which was my rig at the time, to take the second line, and then I assigned the rescue company to be my rig. This is right before the Mayday happened.
So at
Everything
that
was
time you had 4 engines, 1 ladder truck, and the rescue company.
yes, and a
But
battalion chief, another battalion chief.
another ladder truck was coming, right, as part of the working fire dispatch.
Yes, ladder 32. Yes, hold on. Where did ladder 24? I don't think no. I think the the next ladder was on the second alarm.
Okay.
So everything was looking really good, Tony. When I'm telling you, like I was sitting on that truck, and it's one of those things that I tell people all the time when we do um, promotional exams, when we're trying to train people to get promoted. We always preach that call a second alarm, call a second alarm. If you need it, call it. You can always turn people back. And here I am thinking like, man, like, do I need a second alarm for this? It's when you look at the house, it's not your typical 2 alarm house fire. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there, all my people were working, and I also realized the distance to the house. So I thankfully call a second alarm early on in the incident. Early on, I mean from when I arrived, not from actually when the fire was started. So I call a second alarm just based on the distance alone of the house, and that view that you have right there is exactly the view from myself. So we're everything is looking good. You see the fire is out. There's really nothing that would tell me that anything is going sideways or not good. Everything good at this point. You have any questions so far? Or?
No, you want to play the video now?
You can, yeah. Well, I can tell you before you play the video, the rescue company, which was now my rig, went around. I think he was doing another 360, and then right before the Mayday, he told everybody to stay away from that side of the house.
That was the rescue company officer who said that.
That was the rescue company said, "Hey, rescue 10 to all companies to stay away from the Bravo Charlie side."
Which basically, he's talking about like the back side of this.
The backside of that had like a also like a sunroom, like a sunroom kind of thing. So all that was burning. The everything on the Bravo Charlie side was burning pretty much. And I think he can see the structural. And again, I cannot speak for what he saw or what they saw, but I think that he was able to see that there was people working on that garage, which is engine 24 at that point. So he told everybody to stay away, and then literally
on top
of the garage.
They were on the second floor. So in this area, in that
yes,
that bonus
the collapse
room
happened on just that area. I'm trying to move my mouse to show you, but the only thing that collapsed was that garage on the top floor of the garage.
All right. Well, let me play the video. Mark, can you play that?
The Bravo Charlie corner of the structure.
That's the captain saying to stay away.
Charlie corner of the structure on the second floor.
That's what he told them to stay away from that, and that's the collapse right there.
Command to all companies and command post located inside ladder 32. Inside ladder 32.
Mayday. Water break. Bravo, Charlie corner.
Command to all companies, we have a Mayday. Clear all
All right. So Richard,
So you can hear me in the back of the truck. You can hear my voice talking because I didn't know that video was there, obviously. But I am inside that was my view from the exact same thing you're seeing is what I was looking at.
so Richard, you had the nozzle upstairs.
No, so when we made the yard, we still had all our RIT stuff, which was when everybody was kind of getting shuffled and reassigned. So in the second line, which the first line was 2.5, which was around back. The second line was the 1.75 inch, came off the same truck, inch 32. The guys from 32 pulled it. So they pulled it and went ahead and made the second floor. So me and the guy on the back of 24 and my captain, we just grabbed hose and took it upstairs just to extend that line up there to make sure they had enough hose on the second floor. So we made the second floor. Smoke conditions weren't bad. About halfway down the wall, I guess. And that's when all the talk of trying to find attic access was. So we're searching for attic access. We went room to room looking, couldn't find it. Actually, the attic drop down door ended up being right outside of the door to the bonus room. So it was literally right there the whole time. It was just right above them. But the guys from 32 started banging, so they came out. And when they came out, we replaced them. But I never had the nozzle. The guy that had the nozzle was in the room. So when we got in, he was flowing water
In the bonus room.
Yeah. So he was flowing water. So I never had the nozzle, to answer your question. I never was on the line.
All right, so you're upstairs working.
Yep. So
helping him knock the fire down.
Yeah. So we made the room. Ended up looking for kind of like what the visibility was above the room. Quickly learned that there was no common access from the bonus room to the other house. As you can see in the other picture, it's a wall. So I had the tick. I'm looking at it. I'm like, can't see into the house at all because it's not common. So you couldn't see into the house. So from there, I just remember, and we talk about, you talk about the style of the house. I just remember I'm like, because from the second floor landing before we went in the room, you could see fire kind of around the backside above the room. And I was like, there's a knee wall or a half wall or something that they've finished this bonus room with, and there's storage behind that, like an attic space or whatever. I just remember thinking there's got to be an access door because the fire's back there. How many house fires have we been to where it's in that dead space back there behind a wall in a bonus room that's finished attic or whatever? So the guy's flowing water, told him stop. So he stopped flowing water. So I went around him and I got to that wall and I was trying to feel down that wall, looking for a door or kick wall or kick panel or something. And I remember I got to the corner and I could see the window on the Bravo side, and I could see the window through the smoke. And I took that last step. That's the step I'll never forget. I took it and the floor sponged, and I turned to tell my captain. I turned and told him, I was like, "Hey man, floor sponging." And as soon as I did that, it popped and we were in it. So we didn't really have time to react. So the recording piece of that from the outside. So the captain from the rescue who told, "Hey, everybody stay out of that corner." That was 4 seconds before the collapse happened. So we never heard that.
When he said that?
Yeah. So we never heard that transmission. And even if we did, 4 seconds isn't enough time to get across that room anyways. So it kind of wouldn't have mattered. We were already in it. But yeah, once I felt the floor sponge, it kind of was one of those things. It was like, well, here we go. So I remember hearing a pop, and then it fell, and I know only fell probably 5 feet, maybe 6 feet, I guess, into the, as it just kind of folded down on the top of each other, but felt like 40. And it sounded like a freight train, man. When everything just kind of dropped, everything was so loud, and it was quiet, and it was done. And it was like that. It happened so fast.
So, how many, you and other guys fell, or just you?
No. So my entire company was inside the door. So me, the guy on the back of my truck, my captain, we were inside the room. A dude off of engine 9 who was on the nozzle, he was inside the room. And then my engineer had just stepped through the door with an attic ladder when it dropped. So he stepped in the door and it fell with him.
So everybody took a ride?
Everybody took a ride. Those four were.
You were the only one.
Yep.
You were the only one that got pinned.
Yeah. So, talking to my guys, so the firefighter on the back with me, he had a piece of debris across him that my captain helped move off of him, from my understanding. So once they were able to move that stuff, they were able to self-extricate and leave. So I wasn't as lucky.
No, sir. You were very lucky, but no,
Well,
I get it.
to that,
I get it. Right?
point,
Yes. Yes, it's all relative, right? It's all relative.
Yeah, you're right.
So, so you're trapped, and you realize that you were alive.
Yeah.
Is that you called the Mayday?
No. So when it fell and everything stopped, it was really weird. I really didn't. It took a second for everything kind of to realize what happened. So I reached for a mic, and it had yanked off my gear. It was behind me. So my lapel mic had pulled off and was back here. So I could hear it, but I couldn't get to it. So it was kind of one of those things where, all right, let's figure this out. I had a little bit of space in front of me that I could move this arm around in. This arm was suspended. My left leg was kind of straight down in the debris, and my right leg was weird. Like I could see my boot, but it was at an odd angle. So I thought my leg was broken. So I kind of wrote that off. And then I had another piece of debris that was kind of across it. So with this arm, I could move it. So I kind of moved that out of the way. And then I did a kind of a quick assessment to see, like, what could I do? What could I move? How could I get out? I couldn't get my cutters. I couldn't reach my arm far enough to get them. I could get my fingers on the tensioner buckles on the sides of your air pack strap. I could get these fingers inside that buckle, but when everything fell, it fell kind of on me and my air pack, and it just torqued it like a windlass on a tourniquet. And when it did, everything just cinched down, and I couldn't break anything loose. So I fought the air pack for a few minutes, and then I fought the house. I tried to push everything off me, and I quickly learned that I'm pushing a house, and that's not going to work. By the time I realized that, was when I kind of realized I was running low on air. I went from the yellow to 2 red, and then I remember seeing the 1 red, and I was like, all right, stop. You got to quit. You're going to run out of air. It's still smoky. There's debris. There's steam. There's smoke. I don't know what all this is.
Were you burning at all?
Well, I remember feeling heat on my left leg, and that could have been steam. There was still like a little bit of fire. They were still flowing water, and that could have just been the steam kind of finding its way out. I don't think it was ever direct fire impingement. I don't remember that ever being a part of it. I think the fire was kind of away from me. But I wasn't really. So to answer your question, I wasn't really burning. There wasn't anything on me that was burning.
All right, so nothing's burning. You're caught though, but you got your wits about you. Now you see your air supply is low.
Yeah.
You couldn't make any transmissions. Who called the Mayday?
So the Mayday you hear first is my captain. So as soon as everything fell, he called the Mayday. For him and I think him and my other firemen, they were kind of together. So they kind of helped each other, and he called that Mayday. So I never could call the Mayday. I don't think there was any other ones that were transmitted. It was just his.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chief, you heard the Mayday, and I heard you starting to do the line up there. What happened then after you got the call?
So just to give you a perspective from my side, and this is something you texted us earlier to things that you want to take away from the fire, and this we can talk about this at the end too. But for me, seeing Commander, like the one takeaway that I take is never assume anything. I assume wrongly, and I didn't think that there was nobody working on top of the garage because of the amount of fire that had been there and how long it's been burning. And when I assigned a second line to go to the second floor and to the attic, based on the separate of the roof, I thought that the 24 crew was on the second floor of the main house. When the Mayday came, I saw the the collapse. But with the smoke, I mean, I didn't realize that the whole thing had collapsed. Like I thought something fell off, like a floor or something. Not really necessarily saw that the whole site collapsed. But when they called it Mayday, I thought that the Mayday had happened inside the house. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Real quick.
So
hold on. let me get that picture up. Mark, can you bring the slides back up? Let's do this picture here because this is a good. All right, now go ahead. That's a really good show.
But you can see that door, like it literally the whole house is pretty much. I don't want to say intact, but it's pretty much intact. The other house is the rest of the house is good. I didn't think that nobody was operating on top of the garage.
Yep.
Even to the point that I saw conversion on the roof, and I thought they had made the attic. And what was happening? There was actually they were flowing water from on top of the garage to the roof on the house. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So when I saw conversion on the smoke in the attic, I thought that they had made the actual attic inside the house.
Yeah.
So when that collapse happened, I thought that the collapse had happened inside the house, not outside the house. And even then, the rescue asked for a line to go to the front door, and I think they also thought that they were going inside the house. I don't know really all that thing that happened, but yeah, I heard the Mayday, which is another takeaway or thing that I would tell you as an incident commander. Tony, were you a chief?
Yeah.
Okay. There's people. Obviously, everybody comes from a different point. Some people like the front yard. Some people like their car. Some people like the back of the car. Whatever it is. I personally, and even after this fire, was a reassurance that being somewhere where you're secluded and quiet is the best place. And I was thankful to be inside the truck because I had 2 radios. I was able to have somewhere to write down, and it was quiet, and I can hear the radio the best. I think if I would have been on that front yard, I don't know if I could have heard a lot of the radio traffic. Because even listening to the radio traffic now, there's times like I don't know I would ever heard because my suppression group supervisor, which was Battalion 7, he transmitted several things that I never heard.
Yeah.
And that's being inside the fire truck, quiet. But when the Mayday came, I'm good friends with Gene Evans, which is his captain. Know him for years, and it hits you different, obviously, when you know somebody's that you know to a different. Also, when he called it Mayday, I was like, "Oh fuck, that's Gene," you know. And he called Mayday. I acknowledge it. Clear radio traffic from everybody. Asked him to proceed, and then he gave me his Mayday, and then I activated the rig team. And then I reassigned the 39, which I just have asked them to take a line to the second floor. I reassigned them to rig. So I had 2 companies working pretty fast with going for Richard. But I didn't know it took. It's a very complicated thing for an incident commander. Have you ever had any Mayday,
No.
Tony? Or it was. I don't know how to put it in words, man, because it was. I know they're working. I can see them, but I wasn't getting a lot of information back. But I had to be patient because I know they're working. So it's one of those things where you're like, okay, like calm down. But for a long time, I thought I might have lost the whole company because when he said, "Man, there's 4 of us," I didn't know that they were out. It took a while to get the report that they were out, but they were missing 1. We didn't know if it was just 1 or more. We tried to run apart at some point. And then for the longest time, I mean, I think it took 20 something minutes to get him out. And it wasn't until Battalion 1 got there, which it was towards the end. They were about to pull him out. Battalion 1 got there, and I made Battalion 1 my supervisor for the rig. And that's the only time. Finally, when I got a report like, "Hey, we have eyes on him. He's on air. We're getting him out. He's coming out soon." That's the first time that I heard that he was okay. That everything was going good, for lack of better words. And it was. I speaking of chief days and all that stuff. I mean, I never could get help because of the distance of the house. Every time somebody, like my second alarm company got there, and I told them to bypass, like just come. I couldn't assign enough companies. Like there was still fire in the attic. The safety officer was concerned that if the house still is burning, that there will be a secondary collapse towards the house. So we still have operations going. I couldn't. There's points where I'm like, any company without an assignment, let me know, and
Yeah.
silence. I didn't have companies, I didn't have chiefs, I didn't have anybody to really, because people ask like, couldn't you make somebody to come help you? And yes, I would love to have somebody come help me and help me keep track of things. Because towards I don't know how much you want to talk about changing channels and all that stuff, but towards the middle of the Mayday, if you want to put it that way, the rescue captain asked for a second channel. And again, thankfully, I had a second radio with me, so we were able to change channels, and I had 2 radios at this point. But again, I had by myself in the truck, 2 radios, managing the Mayday, managing the operations still, and not getting reports of really what was going on with Rich. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know how bad he was injured, whether he was conscious, with nothing. So it felt like an eternity from a command.
I'm sure it was 20
post.
minutes, right? 20 minutes from the time the collapse happened until he was freed, which I think is a long time. When I've been talking about Maydays, I mean, I've heard 6, 7, 8 minutes before someone's rescued. I really haven't had a 20-minute evolution there, right? So yeah, I'm sure it was painstaking for you, especially not having being in the truck by yourself. I mean, I know how nice it is to have an aide and have additional chiefs that come with us to help out with that. But you had them; they were all working, so there was things to do.
It was everybody was working. I can see them working. Like that's my view that you're looking at. Once the smoke was disappearing, I can see everybody working. I can hear them asking for stuff. The rescue captain is asking for airbags. They're asking for things, tools. It's a lot of information, a lot of radio traffic, but really very little information towards me. And again, I don't. It's complicated. It's something to be aware of, but I'm not necessarily mad or think that somebody should have done it because they're working. So it's one of the things for incident commanders is like, you hear all the time, you got to be patient. I'm like, at some point I'll be like, I was trying to get information.
If you call them every 5 minutes, they're going to be like, stop calling me, right?
Yeah. Correct. So I had to, and Tony, I cannot explain to you that feeling on the truck. 20 minutes. If you hear people that had a Mayday that lasted 6 minutes and they will tell you it felt like it was 3 hours, 20 minutes felt like it was a fucking eternity. Every 2 seconds I was like, did I just lost somebody? Did I just lost somebody? Did I just kill somebody? Like, and you start running things through your head. It's a split seconds, but you start running so much through your head of like, is this happening? It's kind of like a surreal time. Yeah. It's hard to explain it.
So let's talk to the guy who was trapped somewhere. So all right, so you are stuck, right? Fortunately, you're not burning, but you do see your life going in front of your face with that air bottle getting less and less.
Yeah. It was one of those things. Like I could hear all the radio traffic. The weirdest part is I could hear everybody around me, but I couldn't talk to anybody because they were still trying to find access to me. My guys had left. I didn't really see them anyways. There was debris between me and where they were. So they had left. So I could hear they
didn't see nobody. They couldn't see you.
Yeah. So like Chief was saying, like just that lack of knowing the condition. When Jimmy Captain Eagle, when he got to me, I could see it in his face. He was relieved that I was talking to him. I could see it when he got to me and he said, "Hey man, what do you need?" And I was like, "Air. Get me on air. We'll figure the rest of this out." And that's when we started.
And this was the captain of 32.
Yeah, Captain. Yeah, he was on 30. Yeah,
32's captain. He was. Did he have to move shit out of the way?
Yeah,
Yeah, just to interrupt it for a brief second because it's interesting to hear this part when you talk about switching channels and all this stuff. It's a you always hear that the people around is who actually end up saying. I didn't know this until the next day. I texted Captain Ingle saying like, "Hey, great job yesterday," and he responded was like, "Sorry for a little bit of freelance, but I had to do something." I'm like, "What happened?" So I called him and he's like, "Well, as soon as he got out of the house, the collapse happened, and I don't know if you know Captain Ingle, but he like teaches this stuff. He's the man to be on your rig, pretty much." Yeah. And He saw the collapse. He walked over. He could see a path towards him. Gets to him, asking for air, and then he goes gets an air pack. I think it was yours,
It
Rick
was all
pack,
rip
right?
back, yeah.
From from
It was my
24,
rip
goes
back.
over and puts him on air. I never heard this. I never knew that this was happening. Nothing of this, but it tells you that I don't want to call it freelancing because he was doing something. He didn't have the time to talk to me and tell me, Chief, I see, like, I know that. No, he needed to move because he was out of air. And for what I understand, you were almost, like, literally almost out of air when he put you.
So when he gets to me, he finally gets a rip pack to me. It's a funny thing. So he gets to me, says, hey, man, what do you need? I said, rip pack. I said, get me on air. So this probably only took 2 minutes. It felt like it took an hour because he turns and he asks for a rip bag. I'm sitting there and I'm breathing, and now I'm at the point where our air packs, if you breathe it down far enough, they'll quit vibing when you take a breath. That's how low in air you are. I take a breath, it stops vibing. So I know I'm close. Now I can get to my regulator. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm just going to ditch this regulator when I'm out. We'll put the other regulator in when he gets it. So I reach out and I grab him, and I grab him on his shoulder, and he turns and looks at me, and I was like, hey, he goes, it's coming, man, it's coming. So I took another couple of breaths. It's not here yet. So I reach back out and I grab him again. And he's like, man, I got it. We're going. I'm like, okay. Like, like I'm low here. But yeah, like, so he did everything on the rip pack and he turned around and looked, so you ready? I said, yep. I took that last breath that sucked to my face. I unclipped and he clipped in. So I took the last breath out of my air pack when we
great timing.
So
yeah. So they got you on air, like you said. Now you can last for a while, right?
Yeah, that was probably in that moment. That was probably the best feeling. I just remember I took a breath out of it and I was like, all right, let's figure this out. And then we just started, hey, he was like, what now? And I was like, cut the air pack. I just cut the straps. So somebody cut my my belt on my turnout gear and was like, hey, you're free. And I was like, that didn't do it. Somebody cut something over here. And then from what I understand, they were able to get, so the air pack buckle on the straps was under my turnout gear. It had pulled up. So that's why I couldn't get to it, because it was under my gear. So apparently somebody was able to get to it and they pressed the button from my left side. I'm still kind of fuzzy on who that was. I don't really remember who that was. It might have been Omar. I think it was Corbello, firefighter from 32 on the ladder. I think he's the one who did that. But anyways, so we're processing what's in front of me and what to cut off. So we cut an air pack strap. They undid the buckle. They cut this strap. And when they did that, like, I felt all of the weight just completely remove itself. And I went to stand up, and whoever was up there, because Cat Mingo had left, somebody replaced him. And they were like, just hold on, man. We're going to, we're getting the Stokes back. We'll carry you out. And I was like, hell no, I'm walking out of here. Like,
so was there a bunch of debris around you that they had to move through?
There was some stuff in my lap that I had to move out of the way. And like I said, my left leg was in it. So I had to like pick up a rafter or something and slid my leg out. When I did that, I was free. I stood up and kind of did a functions check. I was like, all right.
Wow. Yeah.
So we stood there for a second. I caught my breath. They were like, hey man, we're going to bring you a Stokes basket. We'll carry you out. And I was like, hell no, I'm walking out of this. Like, let's find a path. Let's leave. I'm walking. So then we just kind of walked over the debris pile and walked out. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was,
wow.
The Chief talks about sitting there in the truck, and he's, just the time's passing, and he hasn't heard like what the fireman's condition on the inside is. Who is it? What's their condition? What's going on with them? Man, for being inside of there and not being able to relay what my condition was, it felt like hours, man. It felt like an eternity. It felt like it took a long time. But then everything else went by so fast. Like, walked out, got on the gurney, sat down on the stretcher, and I remember Chief come over to me. It was Chief Johnson come over to me, and I just remember him being there.
Which is our fire chief.
Our fire chief. Yeah. He comes over and he asked me, he said, like, how, what's going on, man? Are you good? And I remember I said something funny. I looked at him. I was like, well, hey Chief, that air pack in the house is probably screwed up. So if you give me another one, I'll go back to work. And he was like, no, you got to go to the hospital, man. I was like, Chief, I'm good. Look, dude, I got all my hands, my toes, my fingers. I'm good. And he's like, no, you got to go to the hospital. And I was like, Dad, no.
Yeah. Don't you need to stay away, and you already used up all your luck. So
Yeah.
just go take a break,
Yeah.
right? No, I saw Chief Johnson the other night at in DC here. He was having the dinner, and I talked to him about talking to you guys, and I know he was happy to get this story out. So no, it's that's amazing. That is amazing. And I mean, ultimately, right? I know you said, Chief, that they were calling for airbags and other tools. Did they need to use that stuff, or was it just kind of move all that debris and let them get out?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Anderson, do you know the answer to that question?
Yeah. So the reason they were asking for all that is because they thought originally we were in the garage when it collapsed. So I talked to a couple of those guys over there and buddies with some of them, and I asked them, and they said the reason that they went the direction they did, which if you look at that picture that you've got right there in the middle, if you see where the door is on the second floor, there's a door right below that comes from the kitchen out to the garage. They tunneled from that area almost over, and I'm pretty sure one of them, I think it was Llewellyn, I think is the one who could get to my leg. He saw my leg in the debris. So originally they asked for all those tools because they thought that we were in the garage and we were under all of the debris. So that's why they were asking for all the airbags and tools, because they thought they were going to have to lift all of that stuff up to get to us. So when they did the PAR, Chief, and I'll kind of, because me and Captain Evans talked about this pretty heavily, when they did that PAR, and I know there's confusion. Some guys were on different channels, so the PAR was kind of a mixed bag. But I think it's when Captain Evans said, hey, Engine 24, we're par -1. I think it was that point right there that everybody, and even the guys working who were tunneling under, everybody was like, okay, hey, we just got one fireman. So we only have one person. Hey, we're on his leg. We're on him. This is the guy we're getting. And it was at that point, I think, where everybody kind of realized, all right, look, we don't have any more dudes trapped. It's just him. And then I say the ease of getting me out, because it really wasn't that bad, because I didn't have to use all the tools that you're talking about, the airbags and all the other stuff. I think that was kind of that moment where, yeah, we asked for all that. We didn't need it, thank goodness. But yeah, to answer your question as to why they were asking for that is originally they thought we were in the garage under all of it.
Yeah, that would have been a totally different story, right? And but one that they were prepared for, and I think that goes to say, right, that about while yes, training is the best plan, but sometimes you need to have a little bit of luck, right?
No doubt.
And while I mean we can't depend on that, we need to depend on our training, but in that whole Irish Heritage March, St. Patty's Day, right? It's good to have some of that luck riding on your side too. Chief, I think add a couple. I did ask for a couple, 3 things, or is there something else that we want to cover for tonight, or is that? I think you guys got we got the command stuff taken care of. What about this? You wanted to talk about changing channels, because I don't necessarily think that we should change channels until
that is a hot topic right now. I think it depends on the incident, and it depends, like anything we do. I think it's so hard for us to always say we're gonna do something always, because it's not the way it works. I was prepared to change channels. I thought about it multiple times, but again, I didn't feel the need at the time. And especially because I was by myself, and when the captain asked for a second channel, I didn't hesitate. I'm like, alarm, give me a second channel. They give me a second channel. I had 2 radios. I was monitoring both, but again, what happens so often is that not everybody hears it, not everybody does it. So we were doing the PAR, and there was still people on the RIT channel, people on the operations channel. So it's never, I don't think it's ever as smooth as it happens. And the second part to it is a little bit more of just for incident commander, if you have too much traffic, to try to control that. And because people can hear what's going on, and I think that helps the overall incident.
No, I do think that right, what we've learned from all the Project Mayday stuff, and the fact that, like, 9% of the time, the RIT team is the one that does the rescue, and it's the people that are already in the building and that kind of do that. So yeah, I think that we want to have that as a option to change channels,
Correct.
especially right. I could imagine if they had to do some tunneling and some lifting, they probably want to have a channel for that operation. Yeah.
And with the length of this Mayday, I mean, the 20-something minutes, I think we were in a position where I think that the RIT team knew what they were doing. They knew where he was. So they just needed to have a quiet zone, for lack of better words, because we were trying. I mean, he talked about that. We heard the par -1, but we still wasn't 100% sure that it was just him. So that's what we're trying. The safety recommended doing a par to get everybody. So we're trying to do a par while fighting fire while doing the rig, and that is when it became a little complicated, and that's when the rescue captain was like, "Hey, we need a different channel." We changed channels. We could try to continue the par, but again, it's just
that says a lot about needing to have enough resources to do both too, right? You have enough resources to fight the fire and commit to the rescue. And that, you had that kind of on the initial alarm, but then you also saw the need with the second alarm. And those.
Well, I called the second before the RIT, and then when the Mayday happened, I called for a third. So we had a third alarm fire, and so it was managing 3 alarms and a RIT and a Mayday situation. And people, the most question I get all the time: why didn't you get somebody to help you? I never had the opportunity to, because talking about the layout of the neighborhood, not only took forever to people to get. I mean, I was the first chief there pretty much, and my ETA was 16, 17 minutes. Imagine the rest of the second and third alarm box. I mean, it took everybody forever to get there, and once I got there, they had to park several blocks away because it was just one entrance. So they were parking 3, 4, 5 blocks away once they arrived, and then they had to walk towards my scene. So every time I got somebody, it was like I needed to do something else. I needed another assignment or something else. So I never felt like.
Yeah, maybe they'll
like I got the help I needed.
That'll help get you that aid, right? Get you that driver.
I hope so. We're working towards it. We really are.
What else? What other things you want people to get from your part of this incident, Chief?
Honestly, I mean, we're coming with the AR at some point, but it is again the thing I mentioned earlier. Never assume anything. That was, I think, probably my biggest mistake. That if I could go back and change something, I would have been a lot more aggressive in telling companies not to go about the fire. But it's what it is, because I really did assume that nobody was there. Like even when the Mayday happened, I thought they were inside the house. It took a while it felt forever. It took a while for me to understand where actually the thing had happened. From incident command, and then when we talk about just having I'm just a big advocate of people commanding from a I want to call it a safe zone, pretty much. Be inside a truck, be inside your car, or even if you're in the back of somewhere where you can be, also you can hear good and be able to keep track of your resources and stuff like that. Because if I would have been on that front yard, I wouldn't have 2 radios. I wouldn't been able to keep track of my companies. I would have been if that made it happen, I would have been in that front yard. I don't know if I would have ever been able to manage it and catch up, because I would have to go somewhere at that point and try to figure out how to track all these companies and.
No, so, I think that's a good one. I'm a proponent of that, of commanding from the front seat, right, or even the inside the cab. So you have that
somewhere where you can be quiet and isolated, because even there, they still got people that, hey, Chief, like knocking on my way, like, hey, I have to open the door, what you need, and then they will talk to me. But it limits it a lot more than if I'm outside, because then everybody's coming to talk to you while you're trying to listen to the radio and stuff like that. And lastly, I mean, this is kind of selfish for me, but if people are able to give me a report or more information, it would have been helpful just to give me peace of mind. I don't think it would have changed anything on the Mayday. They were working. They got him out. I mean, I'm thankful for that. So I can't complain about that. But like he said, I mean, I think we both were in Anderson talking to him. That this is the first time we actually listened to his story, because I went to see him at the hospital that night. But we talked briefly. We haven't really had a conversation about everything that happened. I talked to his captain in person after that, but we haven't actually talked. But it's interesting to see that perspective of him being in the dark too in there, because his vision is this, and he doesn't know the level of the danger that you're in. And I'm on the opposite side. I don't know. I really thought that I had lost a firefighter.
Yeah.
For the longest time. I really thought that we have lost somebody. And that's a horrible feeling to to have as a incident commander. So
Yes, sir. Well, we have, I mean, a good story from this, and you were part of that. So, Richard, do you have some last things you want to add to this? Is it something that you want people to remember from this? I know you talked about when you saw the red light come on, one red light left, and you thought about, I need to control my breathing. What kind of steps, what kind of things did you do? How did you do that?
Just closed my eyes and just tried to calm, everything down as much as I could. Chief talks about, when we first started all this, he talked about his background, and Chief, did you say your brothers were in the Marine Corps? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm still in the Army. I'm in the Guard. But I did a couple years active duty. I went to Afghanistan in 2009. And I had an NCO tell me, he wasn't my drill, it was an NCO. He told me, he's like, the first time the bullets fly, man, just freak out. Just freak out for the first couple of seconds and get it out of your system, and then calm down and get the job done. So for me in that moment, my freak out was fight the house, get out, fight the debris, fight the house, fight the air pack. And then when I freaked out enough to where I couldn't get out, you know what I mean? Like I figured out I was stuck until I wasn't. I calmed down. So for me, it was just kind of go somewhere else, close my eyes and just kind of calm my body down. I could hear, like I told you a few minutes ago, I could hear people working. So I could hear the radio. I couldn't talk to them, but I could hear it. I knew there were guys working. And just kind of sat there and calmed my body down and hope that they got to me before I ran out of air. Cause I'm going to run out of air. I'm going to breathe bad stuff. So I guess I'm going to breathe bad stuff before I suffocate in this. But, yeah. So to calm myself down was just kind of go somewhere else in my mind, I guess. It's what I tried to do the best way possible. But
well, definitely, right. If you had resigned yourself to the rescue, right, to those guys coming, and again, it sounds like you had some of the best coming to get you in that incident. So that's a good feeling, right? They're going to come. They're going to come get me, and if I can slow my breathing down, if I can control that, that's good stuff. Good training. Good stuff that we can have our audience practice on. Anything else you want people to take from this incident?
Well, I just wanted to say lastly, my last piece of this. Right after this happened for us, I know down in Houston they had a collapse and it killed a guy. And then just recently, where I was at Binghamton, they just had a collapse and it killed a fireman. So we talk about luck. And obviously luck plays a part. I tell anybody who asks me, man, how you doing, man? I'm happy to be here. I feel privileged just to still be here. And I tell guys, some of the guys here teach down at our local community college, and we instruct at the city too. I tell all the new guys that I can, like, hey, when you're doing some of this, we'll call it redundant training, where we do the RIT training, where we go in and we get the dummy out of the clean building, where we're just practicing our connections and practicing the verbiage and hey, convert this, do this, get the dummy out. I tell those guys, like, hey, I know it's redundant, and I know it we do it over and over and over again, but take a moment when you're doing that and just think that, man, there's been people who haven't made it out of something like this. So when it happens, and it did, if you're the guy that's on that RIT pack, just be proficient at it. know the bag, know the drill, know the bullet points on it, study the slides, do the training. Because man, you never know when you're going to be on that routine house fire where everything looks like it always does. Man, we're getting a good knock on this fire. It looks good and changes. So
2 seconds.
That's kind of my passing. That's my go-to when people ask me. So
there's one thing that drives me crazy, and I heard it. We had a fire the other day, and the guys came out and they were taking off their air packs. And what do you do with that air that's still in the system? You bleed that thing out, right? And I'm like, look, there are people out there that wish they had that air, and here you are just letting it go out. I mean, you were that close, right? You were that close that the air that when you tested out your air pack in the morning, you should breathe all that air down, right? You shouldn't just waste air.
Oh yeah.
Because there's going to be a point where you're going to need that, and I think we saw that. And again, that's one of my little pet peeves. Is I have a long list of these things, but that's just one of them there. So
no, but it matters because speaking of that, when I check my air pack in the morning, if it's not the fullest I can get, and I'm looking for another bottle, and it's even before the Mayday, because I always think, man, I know if you're ever in that position where you do wish you had one more breath, you don't want that air bottle you don't want to be lazy and complacent that your bottle is almost full.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm going to be okay. No, that day you need that extra 2-3 breath. You wish that you had a bottle that was
it was full, not good enough. Good enough never is, right? We want it to be full.
Our ladder that day had just gone down to 39 and topped off bottles. So earlier that shift, our ladder had gone to 39 and topped off a bunch of bottles for us because we had a couple that were, they weren't low, but they weren't full either.
They were full, yeah.
Look here, that's another one, right? Again, there's so many things telling me right here that the big man has had his hand in this.
Oh, for sure.
And brother, you got 6 kids. It ain't your time yet, man. You've got a lot of work to do, man.
That's right.
So
you're right.
So I mean, there's no reason for you to play the lottery, though. Don't worry. Don't waste your money on the lottery, man.
I used up all my 9 lives, huh?
You sure did, brother. And I'm glad. So that's awesome stuff. And I'm so glad that you that we made this work. Right? We've been playing phone tag. I was like, this isn't going to happen. I have to get it in tonight because JP, because Soto's going to Ireland for a freaking month. So I'm like, oh, we got to get this thing in. So look, I just can't say enough about giving me your time. How I know how valuable it is, and you could be out telling people about how your stories. Chief, I think that's a great story, man, coming from Guatemala, and you're a battalion chief in Charlotte. That's a great thing. Richard, really, man, again, you don't worry about the lottery, but thank you for coming on, man.
Absolutely.
It's a great story. I hope you tell it far and wide. I hope people listen, and we put you on a pedestal. I mean, again, you didn't do anything special, right? But you're here to talk about it, and we want people to know that story.
No doubt. No doubt.
So one last
just keep
thing.
having kids, man. That means you probably needed more kids.
Yeah, you got work to do.
Let's keep going. That's probably what it was. You just need to have more kids. That's
I'll let you tell my wife.
That's what the big man wanted.
Yeah, all right. Hey, yeah, he spends the night at the volunteer firehouse.
Right? That's right.
So, Chief, any last thing, guys?
No. Man. Just I'm good. Thank you for what you do, man. This is good. This is good stuff to share stories. I'm a big fan of stuff like this because we gotta be students and continue learning and continue listening and be real about it. You know, I'm a big fan of speaking the good and the bad. And like I tell you, I mean, I'm not perfect by no means. I did things that I shouldn't have done in that fire. Learn from it and thank God that I'm talking to Richard now, because I really did think that wasn't going to be the case, and sitting here is a huge blessing. I don't wish this on anybody as an incident commander. I'm sure you don't wish that as being in your position either. But yeah, it's something that I don't wish anybody. But it's like, oh, you know, you have the experience. Yeah, great. I great experience, but I don't.
Yeah, let's not
It's
do it
not.
again.
Yeah, I can go my entire career without doing this
I'm
again.
good. I
I'll
don't want
be
to
a
do it again.
very happy chief. Yeah.
All right, so there's some things we can take from what they told us, guys. The chief, if you are in a position to do that, get in a quiet area.
Yeah.
I've done the in the front yard thing, and it just doesn't seem to work well for me. But I mean, if you're good at that, then keep practicing that. Richard, what he told us again, while you might have all those tools and stuff, if you get into a point where you need to control your breathing, right, and make that bottle last as long as you can. So thank you again, guys. I really appreciate you coming on. That concludes the March 2025 Mayday Monday. Again, don't count on luck, but get out there and
No.
train and
Yeah.
and make a better plan than that.
That's right.
But thank you all, and see you
Thank you,
next
Tony.
time for the next Mayday Monday. Thank you, guys. All right, so here's this month's skill drill in kind of building on what we just heard from Richard Anderson and Chief Soto. He was pretty lucky, right? He was pretty lucky. Well, ultimately, at the end, we know that he had some luck played a part in this, and that helps. Being lucky will help us all. But planning and training is a much better idea. So while we want to hope for the best, we're going to train for the worst. And that's kind of what this skill drill is here. So if you can, if you have the ability, what I did was I found an old pair of bunker pants and an old boot and taped those together and then stuffed it underneath of something heavy, right? So the idea is the lit team will come in and find a firefighter who is trapped by something heavy. Or another option is to find maybe something that they have to cut through. And there should be some pre-planning, some pre-scenario work done where you do the skill, right? The whether we're lifting with a pry bar, like you see these guys going in here, or we lift with airbags, or we lift with a hydraulic spreader, or we lift with jacks, something, right? We do that with no pressure, like a crawl, walk, run kind of thing, right? You do it with no pressure, you do it out in the open, and then you add some stress, right? Maybe you add a confined area, then ultimately we do it in a smoke-filled environment with no visibility. But ultimately they're going to come in, they're going to find another member trapped by whatever's trapping them. In this case, it's some framework that was getting thrown away, and I pulled it out and then found a, a big tank full of liquid that was heavy, and then had the members come in. In this case, they're coming in with a pry bar and a couple of 4x4s. You can also do it with airbags, or you can do it with a hydraulic spreader, right? And do all those things, right? But after you do the crawl part where you practice all of these skills where they can see it and they can do it, then maybe you throw in a surprise and they come in there and find someone trapped a little bit different, or a different body part, or a different thing, and they have to use different tools. So practice all those things, and then extricate the downed firefighter. Again, you can see how we can add a lot to this, right? You can add an air problem to it, or they have a low air bottle, so they have to come in and give the guy air, and then they'll also lift the heavy objects on there. But this is kind of going to build on that, hoping for the best and planning for the worst, right? So that's the skill drill for this month. Be creative, add some stress, and get out there and practice. Again, Richard had some luck playing a part in his survival. That's not always going to be the case, right? So let's plan for the worst, train for the worst, hope for the best, but train and plan for the worst case scenario. All right, get out there and practice these things. And again, in the interest of Irish luck of the Irish, this month we're gonna hope for the best, but we're gonna plan for the worst, and we're gonna train on these things and do it honor or in kind of keeping with what we learned from the Charlotte Fire Department and what those guys were planning for. All right, so thank you this month, and we'll see you in April.